One Christmas Eve he won't forget, old Santa nearly pitched a fit when Rudolph came down with the flu. Well, he got a week and he turned blue. Reindeer cried and whinnied on that rooftop in Virginia, and it looked like Santa Claus was really through. My dad climbed up the ladder and he said, Nick, that just don't matter. Well, I've got some friends with poor eyesight that can help you guide your sleigh all right. Even if it's snowing, just point them where you're going. I'll hook you up a Paso here tonight. Fly, possum, fly, lift old Santa to the sky. Get those bags of toys to everyone. Fly, possum, fly, nature's cleanup crew on high. You got 8 more hours to get it done. With curly tails and pointed snouts and 50 teeth in little mouths, they flew on from hill to dale, delivering their special mail. Jackson, Jills, and Joey, spurred by Santa's ho-ho-hoing, with true blue possum hearts they could not fail. Fly, possum, fly, lift old Santa to the sky. Get those bags of toys to everyone. Fly, possum, fly, nature's cleanup crew on high. You got 6 more hours to get it done.
Come on, Jack. Get along, Jill. You too, Joey.
From Illinois to Tennessee, from Muscle Shoals to Abilene, they flew all night on Stardust tracks, babies on their mothers' backs. So now you know the skinny that right here in Virginia. Oh, we say Christmas Eve and that's a fact. Fly, possum, fly, lift old Santa to the sky. Get those bags of toys to everyone. Fly, possum, fly, nature's cleanup crew on high. You got 4 more hours to get it done. Fly, possum, fly, lift old Santa to the sky. Get those bags of toys to everyone. Fly, possum, fly, nature's cleanup crew on high. You got 2 more hours to get it done. Oh, you got 2 more hours to get it done.
Hello, possums! Hello, Grant. I'm so thrilled you're here today. What a great song that is.
I should have brought a possum with me.
Well, we've got Dame Edna, or a facsimile thereof, on the show today, or the man behind Dame Edna, I should say. So let me remove this from the studio, and welcome to the show, Grant. It's nice to have you here.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me on today. Appreciate it.
I have to ask, what was the inspiration for that song?
Well, I went on a radio show in East Tennessee. Tim White has a bluegrass show, and he also, when I was in his studio, I saw he had possums like everywhere, pictures of them, drawings, fake ones, stuffed animals. And I said, Tim, what is your obsession with these possums? They're sort of like especially in the South, kind of a laughing stock, because they get hit by cars a lot. They don't hear or see too well. They go out at night, and they don't move too quick, and they get mashed a lot, on the road. So, but they're amazing creatures. Anyway, he just said, I just love them. And I thought, what I'm going to do? I'm going to write Tim. This was almost Christmas a few years ago. I'm going to write him a Christmas possum song, and then he'll put my songs on the radio. And it actually worked. So I was like a little devious thing I did, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And then, as you saw there in that video, we recorded it with Emmy Sunshine, what an amazing young singer she is, and in Tennessee and over in Nashville. And then the rest is history. I actually made a book later.
Well, I was going to get there. Yes. Yeah.
You see that in the video. We're holding up the children's book. And that's I never thought, A, I would write a song about a possum. And B, I never thought that I would be involved in a children's book, but they both happened in the same year. So it was pretty cool.
Now, I want to talk about an event that you've got coming up called the Indie Collaborative that you're going to be doing at Green Room 42 next week.
Yes.
Are you here in New York full time, or do you travel back and forth between here and Tennessee?
No, I don't even live in New York, but I'm up in New England, so I'm about a 3-hour train ride away. So I'll be coming in tomorrow for rehearsals over the weekend, and then we'll do the show Monday night at the Green Room 42. So if anybody wants to come, tickets are still available. We still have some available
as well. Yeah, but you also this is not your first time emceeing this event. This is how many years have you been doing this?
Well, since 8 years. So this is our 22nd show that we've done. We've done shows, 2 of them at Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, The Bitter End, Feinstein's 54 Below, and of course on the West Coast and Nashville and Atlanta and Philadelphia and Chicago. We did one in England this summer, actually, up in the northeast of England. So this is event number 22 for us since 2015. And
well, Grant, I've been immersing myself in your music, and I'm now a confirmed fan. I grew up listening to this music. I'm originally from South Carolina.
Oh.
So, it's like going home again. And, I live in Rockland County now, just outside of the city. But we have lots of possums in this area. I've never seen any flying, but we see a lot of possums in the area.
Only on Christmas Eve when Santa puts the magic Santa dust on them. Then they gain the ability to fly, if they need to step in, if Rudolph gets sick. So
now I want to ask you, because now we're, whether you like it or not, we are full throttle into the holiday season. Is this a happy time of year for you? Do you really embrace the holidays? And some people are Scrooges and some people are Santas.
No, I love them. I love decorating the house. I don't do it myself, but I love being part of that. And I just love the whole scene. I came out with a Christmas album last year, the first one I ever did. And so that's a cool thing because it sells, people buy it every year. It doesn't go obsolete. And the show we're doing Monday is about, I'm not plugging it on purpose, but it is.
That's why you're here, Grant.
It's the holidays.
Yes.
We're going to cover Christmas, Hanukkah, Diwali, all the Kwanzaa, of course, all the major winter holidays, the solstice. And we've got players, like we have players from India to play the Diwali songs, and a Native American, a great pianist from the southwest of the U.S. to do the Earth Day, not Earth Day, but winter solstice thing. And of course, guys like me doing Christmas stuff, and beautiful people doing Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. It's great. It's going to be an amazing celebration of all the holidays of the season.
It's great. And I wish you nothing but success with this. One of the things that I do on my Friday show, everybody fasten your seatbelts. I have 5 mystery questions laid out. I haven't looked at them. So you pull a number 1 through 5, and then I'm going to bring on our next guest.
Okay.
So pull a number 1 through 5.
3.
And your question is, what do you feel is the one action that you've taken in your career that has brought you closer to your goals?
Wow. I would have to say that it was co-founding the Indie Collaborative with Eileen Sherman 8 years ago, because that really changed the trajectory of both of our careers, I think. And it exposed us to so many, we've got like 2,000 members of the Indie Collaborative, and they're from every genre of music from all over the world, not just all over the US, but all over, literally everywhere in the world, except maybe Antarctica. And it's allowed us to do things, there's strength in numbers. So I never could have done a show by myself at Carnegie Hall, but as part of the Indie Collaborative, I produced 2 of them, same with Lincoln Center and a few other places like that are hard to do a show as an individual indie artist, unless you're an indie artist like Taylor Swift. She's literally an indie, but I mean, come on.
But there may be Swifties, but I am a Burker. Do you know what that is?
No.
I'm a fan of Celia Burke.
And
if you're not familiar with her music, you will be in a moment. Here she is in the studio from a recent recording. Here she is.
Still, 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 one can hear the falling snow, for all is hushed, the world is sleeping, holy star its vigil keeping, still, still, still. one can hear the falling snow.
I love that. It's so hypnotic.
I know.
See, I could just put that on, and I say this in the kindest way, with it all attention. I could just put this on and just drift off to sleep. It is so beautiful and so hypnotic.
It's an Austrian Christmas carol, and the first time I heard it was actually a recording by Bryn Terfel, and it was just stunningly beautiful. And I said, I want to record that song, and I hear a cello. So I was very fortunate to be able to do that with Mary Dorman Fanoff.
It's absolutely gorgeous. We're going to talk about a couple of things. Number one, you have 3 new holiday songs that you just released, and they're streaming on many platforms right now. Some congratulations, and I hear that you're getting a lot of airplay.
A lot. And we're getting a lot of pickup on playlists as well, which is great. There are 3 songs that I actually recorded and released during the pandemic individually. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that they all had something to say about what we're supposed to be experiencing at this time of the year. And so I said, let me do my first holiday EP. Because the first one, Holiday Bells Medley, is about the joy of the season. Still is the wonder of the season. And then A Simple Prayer is just what it says, which is a hope for a world that is more at peace with itself. And I started doing this over the summer with no idea what October was going to happen on October 7th. And the lyrics are a little too close to home, honestly, in terms of addressing the world.
You're absolutely right. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Grant. Are you, would you find yourself in the category of a quote unquote Santa or a Scrooge this time of year?
I would put myself in the category of a Maccabee because it's not my holiday. So,
but see, I celebrate everything. I
do too. I'm very fortunate that I'm always included in family celebrations around the Christmas time, and I try to share my holidays with friends as well. But it's not my holiday, and so it's a complicated relationship to Christmas, really.
You know, I can imagine. Well, we're going to bring on our next guest in a moment, but before we do, there are 4 cards laid out. Wait. I want to hear about your celebration of Elizabeth Sullivan.
Yes. So Elizabeth, who is now 93 years old and lives in Oklahoma and is the matriarch of this extraordinary Sullivan clan of performers, singers, artists. I have known her as long as I've been in the cabaret world, which is about 8 years or so now. We've always had a friendship. And she said to me, I would love to hear you sing my music in what she calls my cello range, because she sings very high, and all the other Sullivans, I think, sing very high. And I said, well, send it to me. And I got completely taken with it and just did this huge deep dive into everything she's written musically, essays, poems, you name it. And finally, I said, I'd really like to do an evening if you would trust me to do my interpretations. And she very kindly did trust me. So we are going to do that on Friday, December 8th at Urban Stages during the Winter Rhythm series. John Weber is the music director. I call him the Elizabeth Whisperer, because he can see her sitting at her piano in Oklahoma, and we'll do something and he'll go, this was written in whatever year, and know the backstory on it. And Jeff Harner is our director, and we have a wonderful violinist by the name of Sion Im and a guitarist, Sean Driscoll. It's been a real labor of love for all of us, and we just hope that when she hears what we've done, which isn't exactly the way she's heard it before, that she's pleased. I think so. It's all done with such love and such respect.
I was going to say, what a gift you're giving her.
For us in return. And she and I have been just nonstop emailing and calling and talking for a year now. So I can't believe it's finally here.
She's absolutely wonderful. I want to let everyone know that all of the information for all of these shows will be on my YouTube channel. So if something pops up, or even if you're watching this later, reach out to me and I'll get you all the information for all of these shows. So there are 4 cards laid out, 1 through 4, and we'll pick your mystery card.
4.
And your card is, it says, share something vulnerable with someone you care about to deepen your connection. I'm going to rewrite this. Share something about what you have learned about yourself from performing Elizabeth Sullivan's poetry, because it is poetry, her writings, everything. What have you learned about yourself from working on this particular project?
How extraordinary it is that despite how different we are in so many ways, we have this connection, and to never underestimate the ability to connect with someone, and not to look at the surface to decide whether you can connect with someone, because boy, do we have a lot in common in the way she addresses dreams, the way she addresses love, the way she addresses loss and ambition, and what it means to leave something behind, that you've made your mark in the world. And also her spirituality, which is much more exposed than mine would ever be. And it's really something to sing her music and to read her writings.
That's wonderful. Well, stick around, both of you. I'm going to bring on our next guest. When I was studying Grant's music and I heard Fly Possum Fly, and I already knew that I had our next guest on the show tonight. Scott F. Mason won the Beaster Award earlier this year for his interpretation of Dame Edna. And I will share a little quick story that I shared the last time he was on the show. When Dame Edna was last on Broadway, they had a contest to find the perfect understudy. One of the producers of the show was Jamie DeRoy, and she called me up and she said, "We're having this contest. I think you should come dressed as Dame Edna and do this." I said, "Jamie, it's not like Dial a Diva that I can just become, Dame Edna. I am as far from Dame Edna as anyone could possibly be." But this guy entered the contest and he won. I'm going to give you a little glimpse of him and then we'll bring him on the other side. Here he is, Scott F. Mason as Dame Edna.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. And the more you wait in line, wasting your precious time, because all the part-time help is so damn slow.
I want more. But I've got to come see you at Pangea to get more.
Hello, Possum. I brought this out just for you, Grant, from my props closet.
I mean, what did you think when that song began to play? And I think you're going to add it to your repertoire.
I've never heard of it, but it's brilliant, Grant, and I just was cracking up because it's what, if you've not seen the real Dame Edna or her understudy, yours truly, it's what she says. I mean, she comes out and says, "Hello, possums." So it's great. And congratulations on the book and the song and what you're doing with the international. You're so hats off to you, and your cowboy hat is cool too.
Well, you are so busy yourself. I mean, in addition to that, you've got this Who's Christmas Miracle in the 100-Acre Wood. I love this. And it's a staged radio play. And you are opening tonight.
Yes, I have to. I was eating my dinner when I was off screen because I have to, as soon as this is over, fly to the theater. I wish I had some possums to fly me there with some Christmas dust.
But
I'll set you up.
But then you shift gears immediately, and is it next week that you're at Pangea?
No, it's December 15th. Next Friday night, I open in my 38th appearance in a local Nutcracker and playing Drosselmeyer. So yeah, I'm switching hats the entire month of December. Every Friday night. Last Friday night I was doing Dame Edna. This tonight opened the Pooh show. Next Friday Nutcracker, and then the following Friday Dame Edna's Dame Chris Mahana Kwanzaa at Pangea.
But I don't think I asked you the last time that you were on, but I've been thinking about this. How did it start for you, Dame Edna? And I believe, like when I performed as Carol years ago, that it was something that pursued me, and then all of a sudden it took over, and it hasn't taken over completely because you do all these other things. But how did it all start for you?
Well, it's funny that it sounds like the way it sort of started for you. Being in theater, a good friend of mine would always have a Halloween party, and he would have a theme. And this one year, the theme was "Come as your favorite television star, but opposite gender." And of course, I had seen Dame Edna, when it was televised over here, the BBC show. And so I thought, well, that's easy. I'll just grab a wig, spray paint it pink, get some dress, and I'll call it a day and not put a lot of effort into it. Well, he did this contest, and he would act. I can't think of the person's name, but he would do interviews on television. So he took the top 3 costumes, and then he would interview us as whatever character we were. And so that's what he did with me as the Dame. And his guests went nuts. They were like, "Oh my God, you sound just like her." Da, da, da. My costume was horrible. The wig was horrible. Everything was horrible. And because the local theater that I work in does a curtain speech, one of the directors said, "Hey, for my comedy show coming up, why don't you do the curtain speech as Dame Edna?" So I was like, "All right, if you think it's going to work." And then I did that, and the audience went nuts and said, "You need to do a show." And then I did a show. And then a friend of mine said, "There's an impersonator convention out in Vegas." And I said, "Really?" And they said, "Yeah, it's called the CIC, Celebrity Impersonators Convention." So I went to that for my very first time, went to the debut showcase, and people went crazy. And then one thing led to another, and then finally the contest in 2010. It's been a crazy, I should write my own book, because it's a crazy, it's like a series of, these serendipitous things that happen that I didn't expect. Because the contest, I only learned about the contest in New York because an equity stage manager had seen me in Delaware do Dame Edna, and she subscribes to Playbill. It was a Playbill sponsored contest, and she said, "You should you should do this." And I said, "Oh, there's going to be hundreds of people there, from New York," and then I won, which was just.
And tell them who the judges were.
Well, the Barry Humphries, of course, the creator of Dame Edna, and then Michael Feinstein, great cabaret singer, who he was doing the show with, and Michael Musto of The Village Voice, and some reporter from CBS. But to be christened by Barry Humphries himself, that was just the icing on the cake,
That's wonderful. Well, you're going to stick around as well. We're going to bring on our next guest in just a moment. But there are 3 cards laid out. So pull the number 1 through 3.
Let's go with 3.
And your card is, God bless you, Celia. What's something in your career that you will never, ever do again?
Something in I'll tell you what I would never do again. So in these 38 years of doing Nutcracker, I always was in Act 1. In my early years playing Dr. Siebelhaus and King Rat, and I said, I really want to be in the variations. So I begged the director to be in the second act, and so she put me in Trepak, which of course is the Russian dance. And an assistant choreographer came in, and one night at rehearsal, she just drilled us to death doing the knee squats and the kicks, like you see in Fiddler on the Roof. Well, I went home, and then I couldn't move, and I couldn't walk. I had stretched my thighs, so I'll play character parts, but I'm not going to be doing any ballet in the future.
We're not even going to see Dame Edna at Pangea do a little ballet turn?
No. It's
Well,
it's bad enough trying to walk in heels, Richard, when I'm 6 foot tall and 225 pounds. So
well,
spinning on my toes is not in my repertoire.
well, you never know. But if there's someone who could possibly help you get there, it's our next guest, and that's David Friedman. And here you are, David. And and you've been working on a project that we're going to get to in a few moments. But the thought exchange is something I talk. Your ears must burn because I talk about you all the time. It is such an ingenious concept, and when I get a chance, I am there for your Zoom groups on Wednesday evening, which we can talk about if you'd like to. It's an incredible thing that you do. And how did it all start for you?
Well, I started, I am a composer. I was conducting movies and Broadway and stuff like that. But my husband, Sean Moninger, Reverend Sean Moninger, is a Unity minister. And so we were at Unity of New York, and there was an artist support circle, and the person leading it was leaving. And I'm a successful artist, and they asked if I would take it over. And so I went down to see what they were doing, and they were, as the name says, a group of artists sitting in a circle supporting each other with affirmations. And people would say things like, I am a world famous artist with millions of dollars. And then I think, no, you're not. Why are you saying that? And I realized that people were thinking, if you just, say it in the right way, the right words to the right person, things will happen. And I thought that can't be what it is. And so I realized one of the main premises we all live by is positive thoughts produce positive results, and we have a million things that say that. But I began to notice in working with this group that we have a lot of trouble staying with positive thoughts. And I thought, we're not stupid. We're not, we care about things. We're smart. We're dedicated. And yet 2 minutes after we take on a positive thought, we move to the negative. So I thought, let's look at what that is. And what I realized is, if we have had a traumatic experience of any kind with a positive thought, like if someone said as a kid, I can do this, and someone slapped them across the face, they learn very quickly that it was the positive thought, the I can do this, that got them slapped. And they learn to think, I can't do this immediately without even thinking about it. And so what I work with people on is take on the thought you want to take on and feel the discomfort that comes with it. Like, I've never gone on a stage without being terrified or whatever. And one of my favorite stories about that, Lucy Arnaz did Thought Exchange with me for years. And she was presenting me with the Lifetime Achievement MAC Award. And we're backstage pacing the floor because she's got to go out and, expound on my virtues. And then I've got to go accept an award and sing. And we're nervous. And she suddenly stops and says, all right, thought exchange. What are my sensations? My throat is tight, my stomach is churning, and my hands are shaking. And just as she said that, the announcer said, ladies and gentlemen, won't you welcome the one, the only, the fantastic Miss Lucy Arnaz. And she looked at me and touched her throat, touched her stomach, looked at her hands and said, well, hell, I can go out there with that. And she walked out. And so I work with people on that. I don't call them negative or sabotaging thoughts. I call them protecting thoughts. And if we realize we're protecting ourselves from the sensations that come with the thoughts we want to take on. And when someone says, I want to be really famous and successful, or even if someone says to me, oh my God, you've been in such a long relationship, I want to be in that, I say, are you willing to be that uncomfortable? Because it's uncomfortable to do what we do, and it's uncomfortable to be successful, and it's uncomfortable to put yourself out there. And people think they're going to feel good about it, but you feel whatever you feel. It doesn't matter. Sensations are sensations. So that's the thought exchange in a nutshell.
Take it on. And your book is, scrolling on the bottom of the screen. You have many books, and I have a shelf full of. I have a David Friedman shelf, so it's great. But you also work with a lot of artists, and you've been working with a particular artist that we're going to bring on in just a moment. Before we get to her, we're going to go ahead and do your mystery question. So okay. One or two?
One.
And your question is, well, it's a pay it forward. And it's to give back to something that's gone through. What do you think the greatest lesson is that you've gotten yourself from the thought exchange through the eyes of someone else?
The greatest lesson I've gotten, and the thousands of people I've worked with, is that invariably, when I am coming in as the guru, I get presented with a problem that I have. And so I get to work by giving to someone else, by viewing a problem on someone else. I'm often able to see things that I can't see in myself. So I have a rule about teaching. Whenever I find like if I'm teaching a master class and I'm particularly brilliant about a certain issue, I go back and look for that issue in my work because I must have it in order to be able to teach it. So I've learned that we have a beautiful mirror out here. The whole world is a mirror of my thoughts. I want to know what I'm thinking, look at there. So I'm grateful to be able to give to other people because I'm giving to myself at the same time.
And you do certainly give. You have been working with Linda Kahn, and she has wait till you see what's next. And she also, this is streaming on all platforms, and I listened this afternoon, and it's absolutely gorgeous. What can you tell us about Linda that she doesn't know about herself?
Oh my God. Well, mostly one of Linda's most spectacular qualities is how self-effacing she is. And she don't know how fabulous she is. So, that
she is.
Yeah. And that's been a lot of our work together. And a lot of the joy is to watch Linda, who started this recording career a little later than some people start, to watch her in the studio take command, really, I said, you can be a little bit more of a bitch sometimes. It's fun.
And I love, seeing everything about you and what's going on with your music and what you're creating, your creative process. But more than that, I love the photographs of your grandchild.
Me too.
Every time I see a new photo pop up, I go, "Oh my God, this is an adorable." Is she starting to make music as well?
Well, she just turned 1. So we're still on the early scale, but I have to tell you, we had her birthday party on Saturday, and we were Bob and I were babysitting beforehand, and we were watching this show, and I could hear these little, and I get, go girl, let's sing a song together. I can hardly wait. She is a huge personality. Of course, I'm completely prejudiced, but there's a light in this child that has touched my heart in ways I can't even begin to tell you. And I said, it makes singing pale by comparison. So we feel very blessed by this little soul, and I can hardly wait until she starts talking and we find out what's going on in there, because there's a lot going on.
Do other members of your family sing as well?
No, I am the only one who ever sang. Yeah, nobody else was in theater, performing, nothing. Well, no, I take that back. My grandmother was, my father's mother. She wanted to be an actress back in the days when the women lived at was it the Barbizon?
The Barbizon.
The Barbizon. Yes. And she was living there, and her big thing was ladies' teas, where she'd do readers theater, and she did Romeo and Juliet, and played the parts. And this is where you put the characters out in front of you, and, all that. But so she was a big supporter of mine, but she's long gone. But I like to think she's up there kind of goosing me along.
Yeah, I'm putting a new show together myself, and one of the things that I love, and I read somewhere, Liza Minnelli said that her favorite moments in her career were in the studio, the collaborative process. And you've got great collaborators on this CD. What is the collaborative process like for you?
Oh, well, I'm going to just specifically talk about my experience with David and our engineer, but I was surprised at the freedom I felt when I got into that booth. I would watch David, he would give me direction and clues and all of that, but it was as if I was in that place when you're a child and your imagination is what's guiding you. You're not thinking about what other people are saying. And in a funny way, not having an audience to worry about at that moment allowed me to just go inside. And David was tremendous help with that. We had some very funny moments. We had some tough moments where I just went, why can't I get this? And he would be conducting me. He would be, try it like this, do it like that. And it was wonderful. I loved it. And then it just spilled over into all these amazing music directors that we had. And each one just brought out another part of me. And they were all so loving and kind and, so positive. I mean, they were all much further along than I am. And they couldn't have been more embracing of me. And I feel very blessed for that.
And you've done several CD release events in recent weeks. What has that been like after all of this work? How long did it take you to do the CD, first of all, and then to finally have a product for people to have in their hands? What has that experience been like for you?
Well, it took over 2 years. And of course, I was not on a regular basis, in and out and, all of those things. But we took our time. Quite honestly, in the beginning, we were moving towards something, but it was more about creating a song and a connection rather than, we're making an album. It was sort of like all of a sudden it was like, I think we're doing this, it was more my learning and exploring. The CD release shows were great. It was very interesting to take songs that I had done in the studio and suddenly have to put them in front of people because it was a whole different thing. And it took me a long time to figure out how to work in the studio and pull back. So I called my Connecticut show the out of town tryout for New York. And I was glad I did it because I was a lot better the second time around than I was the first. But, that's how you learn. Just
go for it. I've got one question left. I'm going to ask you and have a little fun with all of you about the creative process. I'm a big proponent of The Artist Way by Julia Cameron, and I do a lot of reading and research throughout the week. And the questions I'm going to ask tonight are based on my readings and things that have come up for me this week. So, Linda, your question. How do you feel that you're doing good in the world through your art? And how do you feel about the level of impact that you're making with your art?
It's funny. I don't know. I don't know if I can really answer the impact because I'm just getting started. But I can tell you that when I did my first cabaret show, it was called Say Yes. Mm-hmm. And it was born out of my saying yes to things in my life and how I grew through all of them, even the challenges. And what began to happen was I would get emails from people saying, Linda, I said yes to so-and-so because I heard you talk about that in your show, or you gave me the courage to try something I never wanted to. And I began to get say yes references all over. Now, obviously I did not write the song, but that was very affirming for me. And I think people saw that because I was willing to kind of be open about my challenges and, stepping into myself, that it was affirming for other people and therefore for me. And I feel like that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing. And that's a great answer. Grant, in your career, was there a pivotal moment when you were doing your art, creating your art, where you had an aha moment where you said, I'm exactly where I am supposed to be?
Wow. There's a few moments. I think 4 or 5 years ago, the first time that I did Carnegie Hall, when I walked out on that stage, I thought, maybe I don't suck. Maybe I'm not bad at this music stuff that I could, get to be there. And at the end, I got a standing ovation. And I made a joke from the stage because my wife was in the audience. I said that now I got a standing ovation at Carnegie Hall. They're not going to be able to make a hat big enough to cover my gigantic head. So that's a moment that sticks out. But
Years
then
ago,
for every one of those, there's other moments that aren't quite so fast, wonderful.
Years ago, I got the opportunity to perform with the New York City Gay Men's Chorus at Carnegie Hall. And when I walked through those doors for the sound check, I'm wondering if you have the same experience. I felt of every person that had stood on that stage, and it was like everything was surrounding me at that moment. And it was, I just stood there with tears welling up in my eyes.
Yeah.
It's just the most incredible thing in the world.
Yeah, it really is.
Celia, what do you feel is the one moment in your career, and there have been so many incredible moments, when you felt the doors were finally opening for you?
That's so funny that you said it that way, because I was listening to Grant and I was wondering what my answer would have been. And I just think the fact that the doors flung open when I got the nerve to finally just push just a little bit and see, and they just flung open. And it made me wonder, well, would they have flung open like that sooner? Or was this the moment that they were supposed to fling open? But I was shocked. And, early on in my life, I was just banging on doors and nothing was happening. And now it just went whoosh. And I think that's about the cabaret world, which will.
But let me ask you,
you can walk through that door. Yeah.
You can walk through that door, and you have. What was the moment where the mind shift happened for you?
Well, I ended up on the stage of Jazz at Lincoln Center. It was a last minute addition to the cabaret convention that the Mabel Mercer Foundation does, and I have never been so frightened in my life. I could not remember one lyric backstage. I was just beside myself.
Oh, boy.
And went out there, and I just thought, well, somebody thinks I belong out here, and did it, and I don't experience anything the same way since that night. I said it changed my trajectory, my mental trajectory.
That's wonderful.
Wow.
Scott, you are a creator, you are an artist. What does your art and your creativity give to you?
I love your questions, Richard. They're so challenging and thoughtful, thought-provoking. I think it, for me, I think it brings fulfillment that I'm giving something to the world. I don't have children or grandchildren, which I think are the ultimate legacy to keep the world prospering. So for me, it is my artwork that, whether it goes on beyond me, I don't know. But for the here and now, whether it's listening to a laugh of somebody laughs at a play or gets moved by one of my plays and says, oh, that's my life, or getting laughs as the Dame and knowing I've made somebody smile in this really screwed up world right now, when we all need to smile and have some laughter. That's, I think, it just brings me immense joy to know that I've made somebody else's day or night because I brought them joy.
That's wonderful. David, as we wrap up this week, what really delighted you this week?
Well, there's an interesting week. I got COVID. What delighted me? Well, I think Monday night we did Linda's album release party in New York, and it was wonderful because so many great people were there. Sherry Eaker was there, and the whole bistro staff, and Maria Corsaro was there, and Maria Maringolo was there. Julie Gold came, and Linda sang The Journey, and it was just, and we had pizza, and it just felt like, one of the things that happens when and I told Linda this would happen, when you do an album, and you often struggle with a lot of passages and the low notes and the high notes and putting it together, etc. And I said, when you finish this album, you will hear everything that way and you will sing it that way. And that's what happened with Nancy Lamott. She would just, I always tell the story when Nancy Lamott recorded With Every Breath I Take, which starts, there's not a morning when I open. I brought her in at 8 a.m. and had her sing 3 phrases, said, go home, come back at 8:30 tonight to sing the high notes. And by the time she finished the album, she could do the whole thing. Right. So it was a thrilling experience to see Linda take command, to see all these people there and loving the album, loving Linda, and the culmination that the baby is born and is out there. So that was probably the most joyful moment this week.
That's wonderful. What a great story. Linda, speaking of the CD, when that light bulb went off and you said, I'm going to do this, what was your most challenging experience or challenging thought? And how did you get over that?
Ooh, what was my most challenging thought? Wow. Well, I was probably, am I any good at this? I had never been in the studio before. And, going in there and understanding or not realizing in the beginning that you have to simplify so much. I was grateful I had David to guide me because my original intent, quite honestly, was to do a song for my husband because I was going nuts during COVID and I couldn't do my show. And I need something to do. And I thought, well, let me do this. Let me try something new. Never dreaming that the album would come. So I guess that's what, I think it's like anything. When you do something new, it's taking a deep breath and having the courage to say, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm willing to try.
That's wonderful. Grant, do you feel that you're living your authentic self when it comes to your art? And if so, was there ever a moment that you went off course? In other words, you were doing something that was not in alignment with your true values. And what got you back on course?
Wow. I do feel like I'm on target, that I'm doing what I should be doing. And it's a nice car. But, when I was young, until I was out of high school, actually, I was going to be an artist, like a painter. And that's what I was. I was preordained to be that because I could always draw and paint when I was very young. I could also play things on the piano and the guitar without having any idea how, by ear, but that was kind of secondary. So I feel like I was really meant to be a musician more than, I'm both, but you can't do everything. So I think it's right for me to focus on music as I have for many years now. I still do art once in a while, like a real painting, but I feel like they're both right for me, but this is more right.
That's great. Celia, when it comes to creating your art, what activities or what processes around that do you actually love the most?
Exploring new material and seeing where it takes me without having a preconceived notion of what it's going to be. Just I'm always looking for the head tilt. Whether it's a song or an idea or whatever, I love the exploration and just going on that journey. And I'm guessing everybody here feels the same way.
Scott, this is going to be an unusual question for you, but all of us, we all strive to be at a place where we do the art to nourish our own souls. And it's difficult to let go of how other people see us. Robert Burns, I think, said, "Oh, what power the gift he gives to see ourselves as others see us." How do you think that others see you in this business? And do you think about that?
I do, because, putting the work I do in theater as a playwright and actor and director, but I think I question the most about doing Dame Edna, because although I've been given so many accolades, including the Bistro Award, which was just mind-blowing, even though I've been given public accolades for doing it, it's not my creation. It's Barry Humphrey's creation. So I can't take credit for the character. So I think sometimes that's where, I question what people think, because here's all these people like those on your show and the last show, and living in New York for years and years and years, and doing their wonderful singing or whatever their cabaret act is, and and I come along impersonating somebody else, and then I get a bistro. So I really did struggle with that, because it's like a blessing and a curse, because I think some people might look at me and say, he's just impersonating somebody else's character. So what's so great about that? Do you know what I mean, Richard?
You're talking to me about that?
Right, exactly. but I think the slight difference is you're impersonating a person, and I'm like sort of stealing somebody's original character. Does that make sense?
I think that you're carrying on that legacy, and that you should be proud of that. That's what I think. Yes.
Yeah, but look at a symphony orchestra. It's not, you wouldn't consider them to be a Beethoven cover band, right?
Well,
they're bringing great works to life.
Well, that's
in a new way.
So funny. I don't know if any of you saw Bradley Cooper on Stephen Colbert, but what was so wonderful about that interview, and I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, is to talk about the creativity of how he became Leonard Bernstein in what he was doing. And in years he worked at this, years at it. And then when the first images started coming out, every article read with the prosthetics on his face rather than the art that he was creating. And I am proud to say that Jamie Bernstein has become a good friend of mine. And long before we were even seeing those images, she was telling me, this is going to blow you away. And for Thanksgiving, he spent Thanksgiving with the Bernstein family. I thought it was just wonderful. David, COVID withstanding or notwithstanding, what small step did you take today when it comes to your art?
I took a lot of small steps. By the way, I just want to say, we think of Dame Edna as a person as much as Carol Channing. Dame Edna, we don't think of Dame Edna as Barry Humphries.
Right.
He's somebody, and you are a body. So that's the way the world thinks of that, I think.
Thank you.
I sent a bunch of songs to a very famous singer and got told they weren't right for that singer, which is usually what happens, but I sent them out. I got a call about a children's project I'm working on, and I wrote a children's song today. And I decided, because I was feeling very, like I've never done anything in my entire life because I'm not feeling great. So I decided to take this day and just decide that I'm great. And even though I feel crappy. So I made a lot of moves today from my sick bed. So
you made those moves. Thank you for that. And Linda, what words describe what is important to you when it comes to your CD?
That it touches someone's heart.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I learn from these shows, and I take these messages throughout the week with me. So thank you all for being here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Don't go anywhere, because I'm going to give you each a chance to have your final word today. It could be about anything that we spoke about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message that you want to leave everyone with. There are two things that I want to say. Number one, today is World AIDS Day, and I want to acknowledge this for a moment. Yesterday, I had a great show with 5 people who were personally touched by the AIDS crisis, whether it be family members, collaborators, whatever. And the one thing that I think about, not only today, but throughout our lives, is what so many people passed on at such an early age And I can only imagine what art and what creativity would have been put out in the world.
Yeah.
So my message to all of you is carpe diem. Take every day and go out and do the best that you can do with the art that you're doing to build up the world, because we need it now more than ever. And you're all doing that with your work. So I applaud you all for that. I end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. On Sunday night, shameless plug, I will be appearing with Goldie DeVere as part of her Christmas show at Don't Tell Mama. And it is a benefit for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. It's a charity that means a lot to me, and God bless the work that she's doing. If you're not able to go and see a show or something, even if you put $3 in the mail for a charity or something, or if you're able to do so, treat a friend to a live show. Just as a surprise, send them out to go out and do something magical. I tell everybody at the end of my shows, and this is not lip service, to go to your Facebook friends list. Today, I'm going to say, go to the 6th name that pops up and reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call. And let that person know the impact that they made on your life. And by doing so, you're definitely going to make an impact on their life. We're all in this together. Sean Moniger, and I quote him at the end of all of my shows. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yes, well, I do. And he says, we're all in the same storm. Help me if I'm paraphrasing, but we're in different sized boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And so with that, I'm going to leave the screen. I'm going to turn this over to you, Grant. When you finish, you'll pick the next person, and so on. And when the last person says goodbye, I've got a little promo for our show on Sunday night. So thank you all for being here. And Grant,
Thank you.
all yours. Here's to a great December, everybody.
Thank you
Grant, it's
so
yours.
much, Richard. Really appreciate that. Well, I'm going to be in New York Monday night doing a show at the Green Room 42. It's the All Faiths holiday season celebration, celebrating all the holidays of the season, all of them. And I hope people can come. I think the link is probably here somewhere or on the YouTube comments or somewhere. But that's my parting message. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. So let me choose David.
Okay, let's see. Well, Richard mentioned I do a workshop called The Thought Exchange on Wednesday nights from 5 to 7, and people get on and we work on things from this principle. We work on whatever's going on with you and how to think about it. And you can write to me at davidfriedmancomposer@gmail.com if you want to find out about it. And also, I want to say, buy Linda Kahn's album.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I already mentioned about the evening celebrating Elizabeth Sullivan next Friday night at Urban Stages, and it's part of the Winter Rhythm series, which goes on for about 10 days, and it's run by Sumitsuki. And there's just one night after another of just wonderful performers and songwriters. And I encourage you to check out one of those evenings, whichever one appeals to you. And also that you might be tempted to listen to the songs on my holiday EP. And most especially, I wish that we find a way to do our small part to bring a little more peace to the world and through a little more empathy, and that we move towards the things we understand the least and try to understand them and go somewhere. If we can all be artists and be uncomfortable as artists, surely we can be uncomfortable in the larger world and help make it just a little more welcoming for everyone. So thank you. Linda.
Thank you, Celia. Oh my goodness. I completely agree with you about what you said about the world. You know, I guess one of the reasons why we all do our art is because we want to be able to give a feeling or a sentiment to someone else. And so I hope you'll give a newbie a listen. You can go to lindakahn.com and see all the places I'm streaming, but you can just go to Spotify and hear a song. And if it moves you, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Richard. And I wish everyone a very happy holiday season, most especially my little granddaughter. Over to you, Scott and Dame Edna.
I just want to say thank you to Richard, and it was a pleasure meeting all the guests on tonight's show, and I hope to go check them out. Meanwhile, if you want to enjoy the Dame's holiday special, One Dame Christmas Kwanzaa will be at Pangea at 7:00 p.m. on December 15th. Once again, Pangea, December 15th, 7 p.m., One Dame Christmas Kwanzaa. And I, too, want to say happy holidays to all, and let's have some peace on earth. Good night.